What's up, dude? Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So just a little bit of a forewarning. In today's case, we will be talking about children. It's not a murder case or anything like that, but there are children involved in today's story. So the people that we will be talking about today were ex-members of the FLDS church, which is, and I have to look at this when I say it because it's very uncomfortable to say, like it doesn't roll off the tongue, but the FLDS church is Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's what that means. Basically, it is a religious sect of Mormonism. The main difference, though, is that FLDS members do practice polygamy, which is illegal, so that's kind of been a touchy thing between them and law enforcement in the past, but that could be like an entirely separate video. But for the most part, members will form almost their own settlement in areas, like a big compound that they all live within. And it had been really common for men to have underage wives. The prophet of the church, which is like their main guy that they listen to, he gets his orders directly from God, as he says, and then leads the rest of the members. So he's like the preacher, but is like more than that to them. He himself had, I believe it was 67 wives. So the more wives you have, sort of the higher up in the church you are. It is most common to have 3 wives. They got into a bunch of trouble for all of these underage marriages, and that was like a whole different thing. If you guys didn't see the Netflix documentary, I could definitely do a video about that. It would just take a little bit longer for me to put out because there is so much that goes into it. It's very interesting though. But today we will be talking about some of the members of that religion. So Warren Jeffs was convicted in 2011 for sexually assaulting girls as young as 12 years old, and he was convicted, so he is now serving a life sentence in prison. However, even though he is in prison, he is still, getting visitors, and he's telling them sort of what to relay to the rest of the congregation, the rest of the members. So he is still very much the leader of the church. He is still considered their prophet. And last year, he started releasing new revelations or like prophecies. And one of the prophecies that was released last June calls for children of ex-members to come back into the fold of the church. And then there's another prophecy in August that calls for members of the FLDS to die in the next 5.5 years in order to reach heaven, according to ABC News. They got a lot of kind of insider information about this, so that was a really good source, and I do have that linked in the description box down below. So if you guys want to read any of the news articles that I read, definitely check them out, all linked down below for you to read. Now, what has a lot of authorities really nervous is that this could turn into another Jonestown per se, because Jeffs is saying that in the next 5.5 years, they need to die in order to make it to the celestial heaven. So that's why authorities are like, oh no, is this going to turn into another mass shmooishmide, possibly? So that is something that is very much of a great concern, because, a lot of people lost their lives in Jonestown, and if there can be a way to prevent that happening again in America, that would be great. Plus, it is no secret that parents would be willing to off their own children in order to make it to heaven. Making it to heaven is that is their goal of life, basically. That is what they are striving to reach, and that's why they live their lives in this certain way, because they believe that that's how they're going to make it to heaven. Lorraine Jessup is a former member of the FLDS church, and in 2020, her and her children were living together. However, in February, her children went missing. All of her kids left. Nathan is 16 years old, Summer is 13, and Benjamin is 12. I might have the ages of the two boys mixed up, but I believe Nathan's 16 and Benjamin is 12. Lorraine said that they just went missing in the middle of the night. She said that she checked on them at midnight and her daughter was awake and she thought, that's odd. And at 5 in the morning, I awoke to a cold house because the front door was wide open and the kids were gone. It was horrifying, Lorraine said. It's her suspicion that they left and went back to the LDS church after Warren's revelation. Her 16-year-old son was still in contact with his older siblings who stayed members of the FLDS faith, and she believes that the older siblings are the ones that convinced the younger kids to return to the church. In her son's room, Lorraine found walkie-talkies, pocket knives, and rolls of bandages, which she thinks the older siblings provided to him. So, in the FLDS church, they have as many kids as they possibly can. So there are, hundreds of thousands of kids in this religion. So I don't know how many older siblings there are, how many kids total Lorraine had. I don't know their ages, but they are still members of the church. They didn't leave. So I am kind of thinking that they're, legal adults, and that's why they were able to stay with the church. The particular officer assigned to my case, well, he asked me if I think they could be with FLDS people. I said yes. He said he felt like if they were with the FLDS people, they were safe. She told Fox 13 News, I know it was hard to take. I finally told him, who is to say they are safe? Because like I said, these members will live and die for their church. So it would be, honestly, I could see it being nothing for a parent to help in attempted shmooishmide for their children. They wanted all the children, especially to be consecrated back to the church. I've been told there's underage marriages happening again and these children are going missing, said Tanya Towell. She leads a Holding Out Help, which is a group that provides assistance to people in and outside of Utah's polygamous communities, according to Fox 13 Salt Lake City, which is a really great program. I feel like either someone took it upon themselves or were told by church authorities to gather up these children, Lorraine said. But she isn't the only parent that's going through this. There's a total of 8 children that are missing and their mothers are actively trying to find them and get them back. Elizabeth Roundy's daughter, Alintra, ran away on January 1st. Elizabeth left the FLDS church in 2014 and moved to Idaho. Her husband stayed with the church even though he had been expelled in 2012, so he was removed from the church. Elizabeth got custody of her daughter, but she believes that she's with her dad, who wants to make the church happy and is hoping that by bringing his daughter back to the faith, he can also be welcomed back in. So they really do try to recruit people to join their faith, but if you're not part of it, they tend to be very secretive, which is also a huge red flag, but they're told by elders to keep to themselves, and if someone's not part of that faith, they're evil and they're gonna go to hell because their faith is the one true way to get to heaven. So that's why they're very secretive. I am positive that FLDS are hiding Alintra, Elizabeth said. Miranda Johnson's sons went missing on October 29th in Utah County. She was told to leave the community in 2016 and had been fighting to get custody of her sons for months. Originally, she moved with her sons to Idaho after leaving the church, but she still wanted them to have a relationship with their dad because it's still their parent. So she decided to move all of them back to Utah. In 2020, the boys visited their dad, who refused to give them back. He kept them until July 2022 when the court granted Miranda full temporary custody. However, they were turned against me. She thinks that they were taught either by their dad or the church to see her as an apostate, which is a member who was kicked out of the faith, and to run away. On the day that they went missing, the kids had a physical fitness competition that they had been super excited to go to, but that morning Miranda noticed that they were acting very strange and they refused to go for some reason, which was weird because they were excited about it. A few hours later, her sons told her that they were going to a nearby park to play basketball, which wasn't out of the ordinary because they typically would do that when she left for work. However, they never came back. Her sons are 16, 14, and 12. So for a 16-year-old to take their younger siblings to a park and play basketball isn't really strange, because a 16-year-old is fully responsible and capable of doing that. Their phones were last tracked in Beaver and heading south towards Short Creek, which is a settlement for fundamentalists. So unfortunately, that is where we are at right now in this. It's very tough because law enforcement can only do so much, because basically what this is at the moment is a custody battle. Because they are with relatives and family, so what are you supposed to do? Take them away from family, even though the parents might have shared custody? It wasn't totally made clear what the custody situation was between these women and their husbands, but ultimately they're with family. So like, what is law enforcement supposed to do? So yeah, super sad that this is where we are at right now. I'm really hoping that we get some updates on this case. I'm positive that the mothers feel like they only have a 5.5 year, well, less than that now, but window to get their kids back before potentially something detrimental could happen to their children. So this is incredibly sad, and if you guys want updates, like I said, I'd be very happy to do that. I'm hoping that we see some updates on this case, but right now I think the biggest thing that we as true crime consumers can do is to push their story out and make more people aware of what is going on, because I had no idea that this was happening. And I find the FLDS church very interesting, and I do like learning more about it. And I thought I knew a lot about it till I sat down to make this video, and then of course it's like all my knowledge just flies out of my brain. But I mean, I'm interested in this topic, and I had no idea about it. So I think that we need to try very hard to push the story out and get it more attention. However, that is it for me today. Thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to leave a like and comment down below how you feel about this. And I will see you back here tomorrow in another True Crime Courier video. Bye, guys.